Yeah, so Star Wars, that's a cool thing, right? Anyway, moving on.
So,
You want to hit on A24?
A24 is going to be just me this week because we both forgot about Ginger and Rosa until this morning where I remembered about it. But I'm sure Josh did too, but he was at school.
No, you texted me, and I didn't get it until about noon because I slept in because I was super tired.
Fair enough.
And then I realized at noon that I hadn't seen that movie and that I should probably watch it. And then I'm like, oh, I got to record a podcast in under an hour.
Yeah, and it's an hour and a half movie, so I've seen it. He hasn't. If you want to watch it on your own, you can quick touch on it next episode. But otherwise,
I plan on to.
Next episode's going to be about Spring Breakers. Which, if you want to see it like with me, we can. Or if you want to see it on your own, that's fine because I've already seen it. So, whatever, we'll see. Anyway, I saw Ginger and Rosa today, and it was better than Charles Swan III. Moving on.
Wow.
What other movies?
Okay, I guess that's the review.
Yeah.
Wow, that was real on good. Now I'm not so excited to see it.
Here's literally the I'm gonna like open up. I took notes as I was watching it, and I think I'm gonna start doing this for movies that I plan on watching, talking about on the podcast because it's easier to organize my thoughts this way. All right, so I've got 3 cons and 3 pros. I'll start with the cons because they're more prevalent. First of all, I will say Ginger and Rosa is about 2 teenage girls living in I don't know if it said what decade. It looked like early 60s because it's like 1945 is when they were both born. I think. This movie's really artsy. It doesn't like explaining itself. 1945 London, they were both born, and this is when they're like 16, 17, 18-ish around that area. And the war is over. I mean, like, obviously World War II is going on when they're born, and now the war's over. And Ginger is a activist campaigning against the atomic bombs usage in Hiroshima, and like they want no more atomic bombs. And Rosa, her best friend, is a Christian and also a slut and sleeps with everybody. And Ginger wants to be like her 'cause she's this cool kid, and Ginger's a weird kid. And that's essentially the synopsis. And this movie's weird. This is the A24 I know. Like this is closer to what I'd expect from a movie distributed by A24. And I think okay, actually I want to get something out of the way. We said that Charles Swan is the first A24 movie. Depending on how you look at it, that's not actually correct. It's how it's listed on their website, and it's how it was released to the general public. The first wide released A24 movie is Charles Swan III, but it didn't technically come out before Ginger and Rosa or The Spectacular Now or a couple others. So we're just going by how how it is on the website. It might not necessarily be correct, but that's just how we're doing it. But anyway, as the second movie in A24 Fests, we're starting to get more into A24 territory. Because I don't know about you, but Charles Swan III did not feel like an A24 movie.
Nope, it didn't.
It just felt really cheap and stupid. But this is a really artsy period political drama. And it's boring as sin. And
Great.
it's honestly, that's like my major con about it. It's like it's a fine film. It's very well made. It's decent. It's everything about it. It's good. It's a good movie. But it's slow, and it has this weird editing where it's like, here, what I wrote was like nothing feels real. Like every scene, all the scenes are really. And here's the thing. I don't think that's an objective negative, because it's definitely a stylistic choice. Because like when you're that age, like I guess, you know, like when you're a late teenager, everything seems to go so fast. Like you're growing up so fast, and it's like the feel of the movie connects into that idea. So it's a stylistic choice, just not one that I necessarily appreciated. Honestly, yeah, no, I was going over and over again, but it kind of boils down to it's a slow, artsy political drama. And if you like that kind of thing, you'd probably like this movie. If it sounds boring to you, it probably would be, because it's slow and boring. And the acting is... Oh, and I was going to say... So looking at my notes here, my second note is that the characters don't feel real, which is true. None of the characters are realistic. None of them talk how a real person would talk. It's a very odd way to write a script. It's kind of like Killing of a Sacred Deer, except in Killing of the Sacred Deer, it helped the movie. In this case, I don't know what they were going for. Like, and it's a little less unnatural than Killing of the Sacred Deer, because, of course, Killing of the Sacred Deer, the way the characters talked was very intentional, because it was meant to put you on edge, you know? It was meant to unnerve you.
Yeah.
In this case, I feel like it's trying to be realistic, but this dialogue does not read like anything a real person would say. It's very odd, and there's a lot of pretty not great actors in this too. Specifically this one woman who comes into play later on, like an American woman who's just like, I just never liked her in any scene. In fact, one bit got like laughable to where like she's supposed to be like yelling out for a Ginger because they're like getting separated by like police, and she's supposed to be yelling out for Ginger, and like everybody's really panicked, and she's like, Ginger. And seriously, I laughed because I was like, oh, come on, you couldn't have done another take.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So yeah, if you had to miss an A24 movie this early in A24 Fest, that probably would have been a good one to miss, because I feel like there's merit to it. It's the thing it has going for it that Charles Swan, you know, doesn't, is that it's a well-made, well-executed film. It's good, objectively. There's nothing wrong with it, other than a few weird stylistic choices, which, you know, that's not something wrong with it. It's just something I didn't like. And the acting's kind of iffy. But it ends stronger than it begins. Like, the last act, the last, like, half an hour, 45 minutes are actually really interesting. And it really picks up. But I was completely bored throughout the rest of it. And I was, like, checking my phone. And I was just...
Rough.
Like, yeah.
That's rough.
So, give it a shot if you like British period dramas about young girls coming of age. Give it a miss if that sounds like the most boring thing in the world to you, because it probably will be. And that's basically my review of it. I didn't hate it. I actually liked it, in the sense that, like, the last 30 minutes made it worth it, because they're pretty interesting and pretty engaging, but the rest of the movie doesn't really justify it. So, yeah, I'm probably not going to be in a hurry to watch it again. It wasn't a bad movie, but it was just kind of forgettable, I think. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about it.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to do catch up for A24?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the reason we say I say catch up is Josh just watched several A24 movies that he hadn't seen yet in the quest. So
It's
you want to
true.
talk about them?
Yeah, let's kick it off with was Ginger and Rosa 2?
Rosa 2, yeah.
All right, so I watched Ginger and Rosa. It was bad. I watched.
Do you want to elaborate on that? Because I felt really bad like talking about it negatively on the podcast because from a technical standpoint, and this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
From a technical standpoint, it's fine. In fact, it's pretty good. It's pretty well shot.
Yeah, no, the shots in it are fairly, they're pretty good. It's beautiful. It captures something interesting.
It's the first A24 movie in our quest that looks visually interesting because Charles Swan III was hot garbage and it did not look good. Ginger Rosa is like this has an A24 feel to it, like that we're accustomed to.
But now, so that was Dakota Fanning in it, right?
Elle Fanning.
Elle Fanning?
Yeah. Or was it Dakota? Might have been Dakota.
I don't know.
Looking it up.
But she was Ginger, right?
Maybe. I don't even know who either.
I'm pretty sure she was Ginger. But what I run into when I was watching this movie is I was ready to
it was Elle Fanning or Ellie Fanning.
Ellie Fanning? Yeah. Okay. So she was Ginger, and it was all right. She was okay, whatever. But while I'm watching this, I was just waiting for my brain to liquefy and run out of my ear.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's that boring.
It's so boring. And the shots are nice, but I want to say the acting is not up to par.
No, it's not great.
It's not
good.
There's very few people that gave a good performance in this. Like the dad character, he was okay. He was pretty good.
He was all right.
Neither Ginger nor Rosa are well acted or likable characters.
Not likable at all. Yeah.
Like they're both very annoying, and you can tell that they're not very well acted either.
Yeah, it was boring. Even the last, like you were excited for the last 30 minutes. Yeah. I still didn't care. After sitting through all that much, I didn't care.
The ending's like the best part, but like you have to sit through so much just garbage to get to it.
Yeah.
And
rough.
even the last part, there's like, even though like the funny thing is I was just laughing to myself. I think this movie broke me. I was watching it because I was like, oh wow, this is getting like really interesting. And like there was a line reading in that scene of like an actress, I won't say who, but it was like so bad. I was like, oh no. Like it's getting ruined by the poor acting again. I don't know if it just wasn't my thing acting wise, but the female friend,
Rosa?
No. The adult female friend, the activist girl.
Yeah.
She was so bad. Was it just me, or was she so bad? Like every time she spoke, I was like, "What are you doing?" Was that character written that way?
I watched it. I just didn't care enough to even make those opinions.
Yeah, no. It was. See, I cared because I was like writing down notes about it. Like that's the first movie I've ever watched where like while I was watching, I was writing down notes about certain things because I was like, I'm not enjoying this, but I want to like know why I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah. It had no grab to it. There was no hook. There was nothing that made me like it.
Right.
So
it was kind of.
I found no reason.
It was kind of pointless.
Yeah, I found no reason to take notes. I just. Right. If it doesn't grab me, that's step one. If it can't get past that, there's no reason of picking it.
There are certain movies. Say what you will about them,
like, and I'm easy to grab.
Right? Yeah.
Seriously.
No, I'm completely with you on this. I'm the same way. It's like
I was more grabbed by Charles Swan III.
Yeah,
than this movie.
I was thinking about it. Like Charles Swan III. I was engaged because it was so bad
and it's so bizarre.
It's so weird. Yeah, it was really weird. So I was kind of engaged, I guess. But
it grabbed you.
Yeah,
whether or not it was good, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
But no, this movie there was nothing.
Yeah.
It's like...
No, I'm with you there. I want to enjoy movies. It's not like a movie has to fight to win me over. If a movie... Even if I can tell a movie's like reason for its own existence is really half-hearted, I'll like it if I want to, basically. Yeah. I'll find things to enjoy if I want to. But if a movie does not grab me and does nothing to impress me, I go more on the negative side, in which I'll start picking it apart,
Oh, I don't even do that. I just kind of zone out and vaguely watch it.
Which is why movies like Avengers are fine by me, because they don't have to be masterpieces because they're entertaining. They're just cheap fun. But movies like Ginger and Rosa, it's like there's nothing to gain from watching it. So it's like I now need to judge it as an art piece, and as an art piece, it falls short. It's very lacking, you know.
But I gotta say, my favorite parts were, let's see, she was smoking a cigarette, and she flicked it, and I'm like, oh, those embers are kind of pretty, and then that was it.
It's a pretty movie. It's a very pretty movie, I will say. I mean, not the most pretty A24 movie.
No.
There are much better looking A24 movies. For the most part, it's kind of not. It's just kind of boring looking, but there are pretty moments, so I'll give it that. But no, not great. Want to move on to Spring Breakers? Yeah. I can tell you want to talk about Spring Breakers.
I'm actually really excited to talk about Spring Breakers.
Yeah, me too.
So, I didn't know anything about going into this, and then you watched it, and you vaguely talked about it, and you said Selena Gomez and James Franco were in it.
Yeah.
That's all I knew going into this movie. So, I'm going into it, I'm like, Spring Breakers, so it's got to have Spring Break.
Spring Break.
Stop.
Spring Break forever.
Oh, no. Okay.
You now know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's okay. But okay, so I go into this movie. I'm like, okay, James Franco, Selena Gomez, Spring Break. So it's gonna have partying. So I kick it off. I started up this morning, and I'm watching it.
Cool.
Having a good time. I'm like, all right. So we get to see all these people. They're having fun, dancing around, drinking alcohol, doing drugs. Great. Then they robbed a place. And this is the first interesting thing that actually happens in the movie.
Right.
Is we discover that these 3 girls out of the 4, not Selena Gomez, robbed what was it, like a fast food joint?
Something like that, with a lot of customers there.
Yeah.
They walked in with shotguns and they robbed
squirt
the place.
guns.
Squirt guns, that's right.
They walked in, they yelled, screamed, robbed the place, and they got the money to go on Spring Break. And I'm like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, so this establishes that the main characters are morally bankrupt.
Of course.
And that's a cool idea. They're like,
it is.
Spring Break is so important to them that they're robbing a store to go participate.
It's true.
That's cool.
And at first I was
I'm focusing on this because I'm going to call back to it when we talk about Bling rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, okay, so they robbed this place, but maybe they didn't do all that much. They walked in, they pointed their squirt guns, and they said, give me the money. Yeah. And then the cashier gave them the money. But there's no harm done. Eventually, that business is going to file a claim or whatever. They're going to get their money back, period. Yeah. So it didn't hurt anybody. And you're like, okay. So these girls, they're crazy, they're wild, whatever. They robbed a bank, or they robbed a food place. They got money. They went on Spring Break. They go on Spring Break. They're having fun. They're doing stuff. They do drugs, whatever. Then you meet James Franco,
who is a white rapper / drug guy.
Yeah,
like drug
dealer,
trafficker, dealer,
mob drug lord, whatever. His name is Al, but in the movie they call him Alien.
Alien, yeah.
He's the ugliest looking person I've seen in a long time.
Real quick, what did you think about his performance in that movie? Because I'm very torn myself.
I understand why you're torn. Yeah. He is doing a very good job in the role he's in.
Exactly.
He plays a very good, stupid white rapper, just dumb human being.
Yeah. Just human trash.
Yes. Essentially, yeah. And he does a very good job portraying that. Whether or not that's good acting, I don't know.
And the fact remains, his character is unintentionally hilarious.
Oh my god!
All the time, like every time he speaks.
But now I don't know if that's because of bad acting or if that's because of that's just what we think of those people.
I don't think it's bad acting. I think the idea behind his character is it's intentionally absurd. Like, he's not human. His name is Alien.
It's true.
He's not a human.
He reminds me of, like, Post Malone.
Yeah, it's like Post Malone bizarre. If he was, like, a drug lord.
If he was just even worse.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah. It's just bizarre.
It's very...
No shout-outs to Post Malone. I don't know anything about you.
Oh, no, Post Malone's... What I know about Post Malone is his music's not great, but he's a nice guy. And that's all that matters to me.
Okay, well, he wasn't a nice guy in this movie.
No. James Franco is a scumbag in this movie.
Post Malone, you might be fine. Yeah, even if you are listening to this.
He's on the H3H3 podcast quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's a pretty cool
I know
guy.
he's a livid listener of our show, so I figured
yes.
I'd probably say something about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, so James Franco did a job in this movie. I can't say if it was good or bad, but it was interesting.
Now, I said that his character is unintentionally funny, and I'm thinking about that now. Do you think it was unintentional, or do you think it was...
I honestly don't know.
I don't know either, and that's what weirds me out. It's like, it feels like he's giving a joke performance. Like, in the movie, it feels like he's trying to make, like, someone laugh on set. It feels
But
like...
I don't think
You know,
so.
in Saturday Night Live, there's always those sketches where you know that somebody on screen is trying to get someone else to laugh, and it felt like that.
Okay.
Because when he does his spring break...
It's true.
It's like...
It's very true.
It's like, it's so funny. It's like, how could you not find that funny? Like,
I see what you mean. I don't think that's what he was going for.
You don't
though.
think so?
No.
Okay.
It's just like his entire performance was revolving around being that kind of guy.
Yeah, right.
Where he has to kind of be likable, but you obviously hate him.
Yeah,
like
right.
he's not a good guy.
It's like, and it's the funny thing about... I want to get into spoilers, but I'm not going to. I would just say the funny thing about his character is as the movie goes on, you realize he's nothing compared to these girls.
It's true.
Like
yeah.
he's not the real monster here.
Oh my
right?
god, you remember that scene where he's on his bed? He's like, look at all my shit.
Yeah, right.
Look at all my shit.
That was the other funny thing. You're just like, look at my shit. Look at all my shit.
My nunchucks, my bed, more like a spaceship. Look at my shit.
Look at my guns. Look at all my shit.
Oh my god.
It was seriously the funniest scene. I was like, what is he doing?
Going.
And it goes on for like 2 minutes.
Oh, longer.
He probably said, look at my shit like 20 times.
Yeah, it just kept going.
Yeah, no. Very good.
Very bizarre.
Yeah.
Just surreal. Well, anyway, not to get too far into it, but eventually these girls, they get too much partying. They go to jail. Mm-hmm. They get taken out of jail because James Franco is like, these girls, they look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then he does. And then he starts rubbing up and touching all of them. And then Selena Gomez is like, I don't like this. And so she cries and then she leaves. And that's all you see of Selena Gomez. And she is by far the most likable
because she's the
innocent,
the one that the viewer is supposed to relate to, because you see all this partying and you're like, this is insane, like this goes beyond what like teens should do.
Well, and the first sign of her being not okay with it was when they talked about the robbery. The second time was when they went into depth about the robbery in the parking lot.
That's also a good scene, because
that's a fantastic scene.
Establishes the fact that these girls, not only did they use violence to achieve the means of obtaining the money, they kind of fetishize violence they revel in violence. Like, it's more, you realize it's less about the money, more about the crime itself.
Oh yeah.
And it's good, kind of like, it doesn't shove that idea down your throat, but it's like, it kind of implies it by their actions. And it's like, it's good writing.
It was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed all those points. Like, they were fantastic. I had a great time watching those and piecing that kind of stuff together. Mm-hmm. Watching Selena Gomez go like, oh my god, who are my friends?
Yeah. Right.
That was a lot of fun. I had a good time. And Selena Gomez was pretty good.
And it comes together in a magnificent way in the ending, let me just say.
Vanessa Hudgenson.
That
was the other girl that you said, somebody else that was a Disney star.
Yeah. Her.
She was forgettable, I guess. I didn't really recognize her in it.
I mean, I can't tell the girls apart, really.
That's fine.
But
I couldn't for the most of the movie, actually. The three that were together mostly, not Selena Gomez, like, they were all like two blondes and a like pink hair that kind of looks blonde in a lot of scenes. Yeah. So they all kind of blended together.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it got very interesting really fast after you hit that part where they explained the robbery to Selena Gomez.
Yes.
After that, it got really interesting throughout the rest of the movie, and I had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I said this movie is gratuitous, I meant gratuitous. When you're talking about, like, the party scenes in the first act of the movie, it's like, wow, this is, like, so much debauchery, I can't handle it.
I was sitting there the whole time thinking, like, this is the kind of thing me and Colin would probably just, like, get up and leave.
Yeah.
Like, before it even started.
Yeah. No, I was watching. And you did say that, oh, no, you said that about the Bling ring. But it's the same's true with Spring Breakers. It's the kind of movie that I wouldn't like until it hits that point where you realize it's more than just that.
Definitely.
And it's more of like a social commentary than anything else. And honestly, I really, really like Spring Breakers. Like, it's the first in the A24 Fest where I was like, this is really good.
And that's number 3, right?
Yes.
That isn't bad.
I'm glad that I found this. I'm glad that I watched this.
Yeah, so Spring Breakers, great movie. Go check it out.
Yeah.
We won't spoil anything else for you.
It's super weird. Like, it's not a very normal movie. Even when it gets really interesting, the style is a little too much at times.
Very neon-y.
Yeah, very, very neon. Like, very, like, washed out colors. Like, very
pastels.
Very vibrant
really
in a not a pleasant to look at way.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rich, very saturated.
Yeah, it was interesting though. I had a good time.
Pretty good movie. It's one of those movies that gets better the more and more you think about it.
No.
Like, I'm a few weeks out, and I'm like, I might raise my rating on Letterboxd because it's a pretty good movie.
Now think of me sitting at home. I've watched Charles Swan the Third already.
Yes,
like that's I watched a while ago, and I kick off my A24 Fest that I'm doing. Like these movies that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
I kick it off. I know Charles Swan. I kick it off with Bling Ring.
Ooh,
which we'll get to.
That's rough.
I go to Ginger and Rosa.
Yeah.
And then I finish with Spring Breakers.
Right. Okay.
So my first impression of A24 was not good until this morning.
Can we talk about Bling Ring? I don't want to stall. I want to get into Bling Ring.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to talk so much about Spring Breakers is because Bling Ring is Spring Breakers, but done wrong.
Done so bad.
So wrong. So completely wrong. And it's by Sofia Coppola, right?
Okay, directed. So doesn't that movie kick off with the fake interview, like not the fake interview, but the interview of Emma Watson, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, it kicks off with them robbing a house.
Oh yeah, a quick scene of them robbing the house.
And like I said, the premise of Spring Breakers, the premise of the Bling Ring, while different in some respects, is very similar to the premise of Spring Breakers. It's these teens that get in over their head and they start robbing houses in the Hollywood Hills, like houses of celebrities, when they know that they're like at a party or something. They'll go just take stuff from the houses. And this social commentary there is that at a certain point you realize it's not about the material possessions, it's about the rush they get when doing this. It's about the crime, it's not about the payoff.
Oh my god. If you didn't
But this message is done so much more clumsily than it is in Spring Breakers. Like and the acting's really bad. Like very, very bad.
Honestly though,
it was laughable.
If you weren't watching the movie close enough, like you could have missed that point that the movie is trying to make, because like it isn't clear at all. Like they're just like walking around, steal stuff, walking around, steal stuff, walking around, steal stuff, walking around, steal stuff,
very
and then it ends.
That happens a lot. Like that's the whole movie. It's just a scene of them stealing something, scene of them talking about them stealing something, scene of them stealing something, scene of them talking about them stealing something, scene of them stealing something, spoiler alert, them getting arrested, movie over.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. It's just so repetitive, so mind-numbing.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Doing drugs.
Doing drugs, right.
And then stealing things.
Yes, and then stealing things. It's so mind-numbing. Like, I literally, for a good portion of the movie, I just wasn't paying attention.
Understandably.
See, with Ginger and Rosa, I was hooked in the sense that I was engaged and I wanted to like know what I didn't like about the movie. This is so boring, so completely, it's such a nothing of a movie. I was like in a different tab the whole time.
Understandably, it was bad. Like the most interesting parts were like when they mixed up that repetitive scheme. So like there was a part where the guy goes and he tries to sell watches. And I'm like, oh, this could be really interesting. And I lean
and
in.
and
then he sells the watches and he leaves.
There's no consequences.
No,
to any.
That's it.
Anything. I was like, this scene's really tense. He's selling these watches, and like this guy looks kind of skeevy, and it's like, I don't know if this is gonna go south or something. Mm-hmm. And then he sells the watches, and that's it. That's the end of that. That's the end of that story point.
Or
it's like
we're just gonna spoil this movie. Don't watch it.
Just spoil. Yeah.
But there's a car crash.
Yeah.
And the two people that were in the car...
I had forgotten about that car crash because there's no repercussions.
They do a ton of drugs. They get in a car crash. Two of the people in the car crash just aren't in trouble at all. They're just gone.
They're just fine.
And then the person who was driving the car...
Literally the next
had
scene,
too much drugs.
Literally the next scene,
sitting in front of the school saying like, oh my God, I went to the hospital and they were like, you should be dead with how much you're on.
Or she was like, I went to court and like, I was in a court
hearing, I have to pick up garbage.
And I have to pick up garbage now. And it's like... That was just two scenes. Like there was no.
It was so bad.
Yeah. It's almost like they shot the car crash scene. They were like, oh wait, actions have consequences, and then they just added a line of dialogue in the next scene.
There was no they glamorized literally everything bad in this movie.
Yeah.
Stealing, doing drugs.
Yes. See, here's the thing about this movie. Spring Breakers did the same thing. Like they glamorized it, but then at the end you realize that it's like they glamorize it in a way that it's only glamorized in the universe of the movie. Like ultimately anybody watching this is going to be like, this is awful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and to be fair, Bling Ring is based off of a true story, so this could be why it was like this. But in the Bling Ring, they just get away with it like for all the movie, and you realize that if they hadn't gone on that one last heist that got them arrested, where they were like picked up by the security cameras, they would have just gotten away with it because there was no repercussions for their actions, and they were just having a great time. They're just living it up. And if you were a kid watching this, you'd be like, gotta go break into a house. It looks like a great time.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's ridiculous. Where this movie differs from Spring Breakers, because Spring Breakers makes you feel gross for watching it. Like, the Bling Ring makes you feel like, I mean, they're just having a great time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, seriously, the only enjoyment I found out of it was like I finally got to figure out where that gif comes from of Emma Watson going like,
oh yeah, with the tongue dancing. Yeah, I had seen that a lot too, and I was like, oh, it's from this movie. Okay,
yeah, that's the only enjoyment.
And I didn't. Speaking of Emma Watson, I hated her in this movie.
Oh, she was awful.
I hated every actor. The main love, I want to say love interest, but there was like no love involved. There was just like a friendship between the guy and the main girl. That girl was terrible.
Yeah, she was. Now, okay, so as far as acting goes, I want to say that it was because these characters were that bad in general, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I know Emma Watson can act.
Right, of course she can.
She is a good actor.
She's been good in movies.
So now was she doing a bad job acting, or was it just that kind of character?
Probably just that kind of character.
Because, God, that character's the worst.
Yeah. No, I
hate it.
I hated all the characters.
Like, my God.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
It's everything I hate about teen movies. It's really everything I hate about teen movies.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I was...
and
so you know bad. What? At a certain point, the thought struck me that, like... that maybe the characters are written intentionally that way. Like, you're supposed to be annoyed by the characters. And I was like, okay, they're doing a good job of annoying me. But then, like, as I was thinking that, somebody was like, hey, girl! And I was like, okay, I don't care if that's the intention. It's way too annoying. I don't like it.
Oh, my God. Or they'd walk in and be like, what's up, bitches?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Hey, bitch!
Yeah.
It was... I hated that movie. I really did. I really despised that movie.
Yeah, as soon as I got done watching it, I think I texted you and I said I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
and
I hadn't watched that.
I know.
That point.
I know you
watched it before me. So
and the whole time I wasn't gonna say you were gonna hate it because I didn't want to get that in your head.
Right. Yeah.
So I just said I'm not a fan.
But you know me.
I do know you, so I knew you were gonna hate it.
Yeah. No, I did not have a good time with that.
Oh God, yeah. I watched this. I'm like, this is Colin's nightmare. This if Colin had to watch one movie forever and live in hell, this would be it.
Oh yeah, I'm never watching that movie again. Even if I were to like walk into a room and somebody's watching the Bling Ring, I would leave that room or request them to turn it off because I don't want to experience it again. Honestly, I gave it. Okay, no, I've been talking only about the negative. Here's my thing about it and Charles Swan. Like, there's a connection in my mind. They're both. This movie is definitely it's except for the fact that the characters are the worst characters I've ever seen. It's competent. Like, it is a film. Clearly, there was a vision behind it. And I can see that vision, which is something that's lacking from Charles Swan III. Like, I don't know why that movie was made, and it's so appallingly terrible. This, it's like, I get the point, and it's a biography. Fine. But I hated this more than Charles Swan III, even though I think I rated it 1 star higher than Charles Swan III, just because I was like, if I'm rating it objectively, even despite the fact that the characters were awful, it's not terrible. It's kind of well shot. Like, there's not really any interesting shots, but it's like there's not really any bad shots either. Whereas in Charles Swan, it's just like, what? Who was operating the camera? Did he fall asleep on the job?
Yeah, it was not fun. Don't watch it.
Yeah, no, it's less fun than Charles Swan III.
So far, what I gotta say is if you're gonna watch A24 movies, just stick to Spring Breakers.
Do Spring Breakers, skip the other first 3. Yeah. And then you'll get the Spectacular Now, which I hear is actually very good. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
yeah.
We'll have to watch.
And then after that, it's Enemy, which that's written and directed by the guy that Blade Runner 2049.
I'm really excited. Is that the one? Who's in that?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay. I'm very excited.
In which he plays 2 characters. Like 2 identical characters.
That should be fun.
And the first time I saw it, I didn't like it that much, but I think I've sensed like a lot of people that I love and respect have said that it's like some of this director's best work, and they were explaining why, and I'm like, okay, that sounds very interesting to me, so I need to give this another shot. I'm excited to give it another shot.
All right.
And I've seen the one after that is Under the Skin, and I have seen that, and that is amazing.
I'm really excited for that one.
Under the Skin is fantastic.
You've hyped that one up for me.
So we're going to get good very soon. I apologize for these last 4 movies, except for Spring Breakers.
1, 2, and 4 were rough.
Yeah, right. Cool. So that should do it for this installment of A24 Fest. We're back on track. Next week is the Spectacular Now.
Do we want to talk about our modification to the schedule that you were talking about?
Oh, yeah. Here's an idea I was thinking of, and I've actually changed the idea since I talked to you about it.
Alrighty.
Tell me if you think this is a good idea. We will see the Spectacular Now next week. However, since there's new A24 movies coming out all the time, I was wondering if we wanted to do every other week, instead of just doing the next in the list, one of us picks one from the list.
Okay.
We just pick one. Like, I'll say you first, like, after...
So when we watch Enemy, we would watch Enemy and something else in the list.
Right, yes.
Okay.
But that would mean 2 movies a week.
I understand.
So... Or we could just literally do it as Spectacular Now, and then you pick the next movie in the week, and Enemy waits another week. Because technically we'd complete the list at the same rate. It's just we'd be jumping around a little bit.
Yeah. Let's try doing the 2 movies. Because
2 movies?
Because I was able to fit 3 in, and this was the busiest schedule I've had in a while.
Okay, so if you,
let's give it a go.
I'll say, because I have no problem watching 2 movies, because like I watch movies all the time. So I just want to say, if it works for you, that's cool.
We'll give it a go.
So say if you say you text me and you're like, this week we're watching Enemy and Tusk. You can do that if you would like. Or if I say we're watching Under the Skin and Moonlight.
Yeah.
Which I might do. I don't know why I just said that. That ruins the surprise, but I may do that. Yeah, like, how do you like that idea?
I like it. We may get a little confused, so we might want to start keeping an actual list of the ones we have watched.
Yes.
Just to make sure that we don't do any double reviews on them.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've decided we're going to do that, but if you're watching this now, let me know what you think of that idea.
Send us an email, because none of you have. Hey,
it's been a while since
multimediaclubcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, send us an email.
Send me an email. I'm sitting over here sad. I checked my email just now. Nothing.
Nice.
I still saw Colin's letter saying, you ugly. Like, that's it. That's all I got.
I think it was like, I forget what it was said. I think it was like, you suck.